Good morning.
Good morning.
Here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ryan, you didn't say good morning.
I said good morning.
Oh, you did. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Welcome everybody to the Juice this morning. I'm Laurie Supinski with Start Garden, and we have been doing weekly panel discussions for the last couple of months, talking about all different kind of businesses, how businesses have been impacted by the COVID shutdown. And, we're in a situation now where a lot of things are opening back up. And so we've sort of transitioned into discussions about what that looks like as businesses are starting to reopen and people are starting to re-engage in society again. This morning's discussion will be really interesting. We have a panel here to talk about co-working spaces and workspace in general. As offices are opening, as co-working spaces are opening, the landscape is clearly going to look a little bit different. Spaces have to think about social distancing, have to think about a different way to sanitize. I think we always have thought that our society was a clean and sanitary society, but moving forward, I think, our practices are going to have to be even more intentional. And so those are a lot of the things that are being thought about and being input into opening of spaces. So we've got a great panel here this morning, and I'll introduce everybody first, and then we'll get started with our discussion. So first we have Ryan Bolhuis. Ryan is the Incubator Kitchen manager at the Downtown Market in Grand Rapids. We have Nikki Popes. She is the Vice President of Business Relations for Custer Office Supply, or I guess it's Custer Office, which is the steel case dealer here in town. We have Jorge Gonzalez, who is one of our directors at Start Garden and who has been helping or really running the implementation of the opening of our Start Garden co-working space. And then we have Beatrice Wolneman, and she is with a co-working space out of Detroit called Bees Detroit. So really great perspectives here this morning. And so I think we'll just get started. And I'm just going to go in the order that I see you guys on the screen. So Ryan, welcome this morning, and tell us about what's going on at the Downtown Market.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Laurie and Jorge. So the Downtown Market Incubator Kitchen at the beginning was obviously, a high usage shared kitchen facility. As soon as COVID restrictions first were implemented, we definitely had to switch gears for sure. So we did a pretty aggressive cleaning and sanitation for an entire day, actually. And now we're still seeing high usage, which is great, especially for entrepreneurs. But new restrictions now, we definitely enforce social distancing, which in a kitchen can be a little bit difficult. Luckily, all of our prep tables are exactly 6 feet, so that kind of helps us. But also, we do require masks at all times, gloves at all times as well. And then we also implemented new cleaning and sanitation rules for the tenants as well before and after usage.
Okay, great. Vicki.
Yes.
Oh, I said Vicki. I'm sorry. It's Nikki. Sorry.
Yeah, at Custer, obviously you can imagine, considering we do a lot of furniture and interiors for the K through 12 and healthcare markets as well. The office is a big part of our business. So I think at the beginning of all this, we had a lot of internal roundtable discussions just about our capabilities and how we can help our clients and learn from our own experience of what we're doing in our office to keep everyone safe and still be able to collaborate with each other, which is a huge thing, which I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about. So yeah, we've been implementing our own practices, surveying our employees, doing a lot more cleaning protocols. And then, helping a lot of clients with return to work assessments. So looking at their current spaces and how we can help them implement spatial distancing, some just de-densification, putting up barriers between people to help them feel and really be more safe in their work environments. Because people are going to want to go back to work. They miss the culture of their company and the collaboration of working with other people. I don't think remote work is going to fully, be remote work forever. People are going to have to come back in some capacity eventually. So as you all have been doing too, it's just been navigating what that looks like from day to day, which changes by the hour. So a lot of really good conversation, and I think a lot of good opportunity coming up.
Yeah. Beatrice, tell us about Detroit.
Yes, so we're in a super unique position. We just finished a 2-year renovation on an old meatpacking building here in Eastern Market in Detroit. So we had our big grand opening February 27th. We were so excited to get some members in our space, kind of get the ball rolling, but then we had to quickly shut down. So we just reopened about 2 weeks ago. A blessing and a curse. We don't have that many members just yet. So it's easy to keep everything safe, keep everyone distanced properly. But we're just doing our best. We have different stations. We have little baskets with gloves and masks and Clorox wipes and all that good stuff set up around the space. We do have a cafe here on site, so that kind of helps us, really maintain the super strict health code approved rules, temperature checks, wiping down all the surfaces, masks and gloves and all that good stuff. So we're here, we're, ready to get started, but doing it in a safe way.
Yeah, great. Jorge, what are we doing at Start Garden?
Well, we're doing a lot. Good morning, everyone. So yes, we are scheduled to be open July 1st, and we work very close with the Custer, Nikki's team, and we were able to reconfigure our space where we had capacity up to 200 members, and now with the new redesigned Custer's plan, we were looking at 91 spaces. So definitely going to reduce our membership, but we're okay. We're looking at making sure that it's going to be clean, it's going to be sanitized, and with all the precautions, set forth by the restrictions. We are looking at hiring 2 space attendants that will be constantly cleaning every single space. We're going to have 7 sanitation spaces throughout our 16,000 square feet. So, and I'll be talking about all the changes, but yeah, definitely the new reality, not the new normal, the new reality.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's so interesting here is that the appeal of co-working spaces is the opportunity for people to be together and to be networking and to be social, and the shared amenities, a shared kitchen area. All of those things are what sometimes drives people to work out of spaces like that as opposed to remote working. And so it's really a different shift now to try to get people coming back in. I mean, I think you're right, Nikki. People want to get back to work. People want to be with, to be with other people and to begin to feel that networking opportunity again. But now we have to do it in a different way. So how do we do that, safely and yet still give people, the opportunity to be co-working? So, Ryan, are you seeing at the market, are you having to have less people working out of the market, out of the Incubator Kitchen than worked before?
It's actually surprising. We've actually added quite a few new tenants, especially actually in the recent weeks. I think a lot of it is due to the fact that, again, like everybody's been saying, people just want to get out of the house. It's summertime now. It's beautiful weather. We've actually, if you look at the data, there's a pretty surprising spike in farmers markets. So that's a really great access or avenue to sales right now for food producers. So that's actually something that we've switched up quite a bit. Usually we train or mentor these food businesses to get ready for a farmer's market, since that's a great initial access. And part of our checklist is making sure that you have good signage, a good POS, some things of this nature. But now we have to talk about make sure you have a barrier, make sure you have specialized hand sanitation, make sure you have extra masks with you. So it's different, but it's still been going pretty good for entrepreneurs for sure.
Yeah. And like Beatrice, we talked a little bit on the phone with you having just, opened so, recently, just weeks before being shut down, the mode that you were in is trying to gain membership. So whereas, Stark Garden, we had a pretty robust membership, and now, we're losing a few people due to the fact that they're comfortable working from home right now, and maybe going to wait it out a little bit before they come back. But you're in a mode where you're still trying to increase membership. So I think that puts you in an interesting position because you don't have that membership currently. So how are you approaching membership recruitment?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're trying through all channels because as a new small business ourselves, we have to make sure that we stay afloat. We're having a big grand reopening tomorrow. It'll be an open house style, so that way we can kind of get people in, see the space, give them a little bite, give them a little goodie bag, and then get them out. So we're definitely nervous, throwing a party. We want to make sure that we can maintain proper social distancing. We want to make sure that, we don't exceed the, allotted number of people in our space. But I think by doing an open house, it'll be easy to get people in to see the space, get them out again. We're also doing, Google ads, social media, word of mouth, just kind of doing whatever we can to get our name out there and, just try to get people in our space.
Yep. Nikki, what are some of your clients? Our offices. I think now, there is a lot of people realize how much they can get done by working remotely. So I think there's a little bit of a shift in people's mindset about remote working, and I think both from employees and employers. But again, I think people do want to get back to work. So are you seeing some trends in how many people are willing to come back to work now if they have to, or even if they don't have to? What's kind of happening?
Yeah, I think the conversations, like I said, have changed a lot even over the past couple of weeks. And I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of architects and interior designers at firms around West Michigan that we work with quite a bit too, and get their perspective. And so we've talked about everything from like companies reducing their real estate or not, how's that going to look, and using more technology, because like you said, more people are more comfortable working more remotely. So how is that going to change how offices are outfitted with proper technology to maybe collaborate from a distance when you may or may not be in the office? And a lot of interior designers that I've spoken to kind of considering people are comfortable working remotely from home or from a co-working facility when they're working independently, but maybe in the future, after we get through this initial stage, that the office becomes more of a place or a destination where you go to collaborate, which I think is really interesting. So maybe the office kind of shifts when you go there to work with people, but maybe you work more independently from home, which may reduce the amount of real estate or your overall footprint that you need for individual workstations, but you're relooking at how your space looks and feels when you're working together.
Yeah, I know, like Jorge, we've been talking about, at Stark Garden, and I don't know, Beatrice, do you have conference rooms?
We do, yes. I'm sitting in one right now.
Okay. So we're talking about our conference room space, which is, that space was always in high demand. We had people sign up and we were constantly, not kicking people out, but there was just a great demand for that enclosed conference space. So right now, we're kind of thinking how do we do this? How many people can be in the larger conference room and then the smaller conference rooms? And so if that is kind of the mindset that maybe co-working space is that place where you come to do things collaboratively, I guess, maybe walk through a little bit about how that works if we're trying to social distance,
Yeah, I'm keeping the appropriate social distance, but having enough space in those conference rooms, again, that's equipped with the proper technology that you need to maybe collaborate with somebody outside of that space. But yeah, just looking at it in different ways, I just think like, especially at Stark Garden, I think you guys were looking at your individual conference spaces and how to kind of rework those away from being rented out spaces, but more collaborative spaces that everyone can use. I think it's kind of, when we work with Steelcase, we have a wonderful advantage, taking advantage of their research and what they've been doing with epidemiologists, but they look at this concept of like me versus we spaces. So having collaborative spaces, but looking at more the me or the own spaces within that environment. So, it's this spectrum of scale of a me space being your owned environment, but a conference space being a we environment that you're sharing, but how you do that safely. It's really just providing a full ecosystem of spaces, which co-working facilities do really well, and giving people more choice and control and flexibility of where they're going to have those meetings. So maybe it's not a fully enclosed conference room that you have, but you're meeting in a more open space without four walls, so you don't feel so enclosed, but you're still able to collaborate and have a conference with 6 people at a safe distance.
Yeah. Jorge, so can you talk a little bit about what we're doing in the space?
Yeah. So we're basically following Custer's advice, and we're opening up in phase 1, and then we're going to go through different phases, as things change during this COVID-19 crisis. So at first, we are adhering to the suggestions of, for example, we have conference rooms that we could have up to 6 people. Right now, maximum is 2 people. Our big conference room where we could have up to 15 people. Right now, we're looking at, 5 to 6 maximum, to adhere to the requirements of the 6 feet distancing. But just to give you an idea, I didn't even realize we had so much furniture. And I was there yesterday, and when Eris and Eris is our space manager, and we're moving furniture away. We actually had to rent 2 storage units just because of the amount of access furniture that we had. And I was there yesterday, and we might even have to rent a 3rd one. I mean, that's how much shift or change is going to happen. But, instead of selling it or giving it away or whatever, we're going to keep it. So when phase 2 comes around, and Custer did wonderful. Thank you, Nikki. And just in the different visual designs of, okay, this is phase 1 and this is what distancing looks like. Very, separate. And then phase 2, you kind of like more collaboration, like you said. And then phase 3. And once we get to the vaccination or the vaccine that we find, then we're probably back to normal. But right now, it might be, a year or so. But that's the phases that we're looking at.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because we've been looking at it in the spectrum of like now, near future, and phasing things out. And when you look at the plans and all that furniture taken out, it's not necessarily sexy. Like to take it out. It looks a lot more empty than it used to. But it's interesting you say that, because I think we're in this phase of like retrofit and reconfigure, kind of between those 2 stages right now. And you gotta keep it on hand for when we can be closer together and a little bit more dense. But that's just a consideration that we're putting out there. Just take away what you have, maintain, the different postures that you have at Stark Garden of different places to sit, but just take out some of the density of that furniture right now and bring it back in later. We've been working with like some healthcare waiting rooms and healthcare facilities right now with a similar approach. Just don't change everything right now. Just take out the amount of seating that you have to have some spatial distance and have the ability to bring it back in the future.
Yeah. Are you finding that too? I mean, you probably, if you opened in February, you probably had everything all outfitted and.
We did. I mean, honestly, we haven't had to do much changing because I think we have maybe 5 members in our space right now. Right. Most of them, the way our space is set up, we have our co-working space, but then we also have our co-creating space. So we have a big open warehouse. It's super cool. Different makers can rent different parcels, and they can actually manufacture and produce their items right here on site. And then with the cafe, there's a big glass window so you can see to the back, and then you can actually purchase those goods right here at Bees. So we had a couple businesses signed up for the warehouse, and only one of them actually survived the pandemic. The rest of them had to kind of drop out. So there's only one person in the warehouse. There's 2 people in private offices, and then I think we have a handful of regular members. But we have individual desks for them to come work at already. And then with the open area, I mean, there's usually 1 or 2 people in there max. So a blessing in disguise. We don't need to really do too much to our furniture here just yet. If we start gaining more members, then we'll have to reevaluate. But for now, we're kind of more focused on let's bring some members in and then let's reevaluate at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the interesting aspect to this is obviously that it's all a complete unknown. I mean, businesses are so used to planning. You have your 5-year plan, and it's like you can't even have a 2-month plan right now. It's just so hard to figure out what to do. And I think so. Let's talk a little bit about maybe so we talked about furniture, just the whole sanitary procedures and coming into the space. What is everybody doing for people just like literally coming in the door? Ryan, what happens at the market? And you can talk about the kitchen, but then the incubator kitchen. But I'd be interested too to hear you've got the teaching kitchen where classes are going on, and then actually the downtown or the downstairs retail space as well.
So for the market hall itself, there are multiple stations with hand sanitizer. A lot of the tenants are also, they have disposable masks as well that they can give to customers as well. We also have our facilities team that are, I mean, I can't praise them enough, especially over the last couple of months. They've just been working nonstop. Pretty much they start at one end of the building and start cleaning, and that's their entire shift is sanitizing, wiping all the handles down, just a little bit of everything. And then also, as per regulation, we do have somebody kind of posted at the door to make sure that before entry, everybody is required to wear masks as well. As far as the incubator kitchen, same type of thing. We have different stations with hand sanitizer set around. We've definitely boosted our chemicals as far as cleaning and sanitation goes. And again, so we sent out some documents that were released by MDARD, CDC as well, to each of the tenants, to both Market Hall and Incubator Kitchen, kind of describing better ways to sanitize and clean, and then also ways for them to check their employees and to log and just really make sure that they're going the extra mile to make sure that they're safe before they even come in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Jorge, what about coming into Stark Garden?
Okay, we're going to make some implementations, but just off the record, I just want to say that I do this similar program in Spanish weekly. So Laurie does the English when I do the Spanish one. So I'm like biting my nails here because I like to take control of things. and for the record, if I start speaking in Spanish, it's because my program is in Spanish. So.
We can do this.
Just a joke, Laurie. Just a joke. We are taking measures. We're gonna have the front desk manager, which is currently our space manager, Eris. Of course, having them fill out a questionnaire about travel and how they feel health-wise. We are gonna check their temperature. If temperature is above the 100.4, warmly not welcome them, suggesting that they stay home. We're not gonna allow them to come in. Once they come in, of course, we have the spaces 6 feet apart, and 2 people that are gonna be constantly sanitizing, cleaning. Like I mentioned, we have 7 stations where we have sanitation. We'll have wipes. We'll have everything that's necessary to maintain a sanitary space. But as far as we did a survey of the members, and half of them are eager to come back. Half of them are going to wait a while. Some, of course, are not coming back. But in the survey, we did ask as to what kind of arrangements they wanted to see for sanitary purposes. And one of them was definitely get rid of the fridges, get rid of the kitchen altogether. It's like remove the microwaves to the cafe, but at a safe distance where only one person can go in at a time. Almost have those space attendants monitoring as far as they are the only ones allowed to make the coffee. They must wear gloves. So all these arrangements to make sure that, and I Custer highly suggested, have them not bring food and have them not, have, maybe a designated specific caterer to bring in food if necessary. But that's one of the things that we don't want people to bring their cookware from home, and God knows, where they've been. So those are the, preliminary precautions that we're taking.
Yeah. This morning we were going to have Mindy from Techtown on the panel as well, and unfortunately she couldn't be here. But I did talk to her on the phone, and for anybody that doesn't know what Techtown is, it's a co-working space similar to Stark Garden, actually quite a lot larger than Stark Garden. It's on several floors. They have co-working space, conference rooms. They actually have individual offices. They have a wet lab, so it's quite a big facility. But like Jorge was saying about the kitchen, they have a large kitchen area. Often they would bring food in from the outside. Clearly members were able to bring their own food in, use the microwave, use the fridge. But Techtown opened up a couple weeks ago, and all of that is also shut down. And so they're not doing really anything food related. But the one thing that they are doing, and Jorge, I wanted to tell you this, is they're having food trucks come, I don't know if it's every day, but several times during the week, and, park outside. So I don't know if we can, if we're going to have catering, maybe we talk about having food trucks come and park in the street right outside of us. I don't know.
That would be amazing. I mean, we should put that on our wish list, but I can tell you that now you're dealing with the city of Grand Rapids, and that's another beast in it.
I know. Aren't we in a social zone?
No,
No, so just so that you understand, do you know what social zones are?
No, I don't.
So they're kind of popping up in different cities all over the place, but in Grand Rapids, we just started. We opened up several of them, and basically the idea is that they're taking outside space and making a designated zone where people are able to go get food from different restaurants and and sit outside and even to the degree that you're allowed to purchase alcohol and take it outside.
Yes, so, we're doing something similar in Detroit. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and so the Stark Garden offices are right downtown. And we do have quite a few restaurants and things around by us. So I was just joking about maybe we could be in a social zone. But so Nikki, what are some other offices doing or other working spaces doing with regard to kitchens, food? Same thing. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you're advising Stark Garden to take everything out, I'm sure most clients are doing the same.
Yeah. Jorge kind of nailed it there. And I thought it was really interesting because I did a survey of our employees in the beginning of all this too, just to gauge their comfort level in coming back to work. And then I asked like 12 different factors on what would make you feel more comfortable coming back to work. Is it spatial distancing? Is it a phased reentry? What are you looking for? And overwhelmingly amongst our employees, the number one thing was increased frequency and thoroughness of cleaning practices. So that really is something that we focused a lot on for even our personal use, and then transferred that knowledge onto the clients we've been speaking to. We've instituted sanitation fogging in our offices as something great to do. We own Century Floor Space, which also is a janitorial service as well. And they offer a service for fogging. So they're using sanitation chemicals that are approved to kill this specific virus. And they go in and can cover a lot of square footage in a short amount of time with fogging machines, and really get the germs that may be in the air and in those hard to reach areas, and just increasing the frequency of that in addition to typical janitorial services provides a lot of peace of mind. And if you're just doing that on a consistent basis, you can do it when no one is there, and then they come back to the office the next day and really know that things are clean. So we are opening our various offices and facilities that we have in Michigan and in Northern Indiana and Fort Wayne at various times. But once we get them all open at a consistent rate, we'll be doing that in our own offices as well. And the kitchens, yeah, we're telling people not to bring food in and eat in the office. If they can. We are not officially open right now at Custer. The people that do need to come in, you're getting an approval from a member of leadership. We are doing questionnaires, asking what their temperature is, requiring them to take their temperature before they come in the office, if that's necessary. But it's a balance, right? Because we're trying to give our employees access to the amenities that they need that they may miss, like printers and their ergonomic chair that they may not have. So we're trying to really balance that until we're ready to do a phased reentry, which is probably the direction we'll be going in after August.
How often do you do the fogging?
Well, we were looking at, like, for the various facilities weekly, probably, like our operations facility on Hall Street. There's more of our installers who are working now full steam ahead. So they're in there quite often. And we have an electrical company in that facility. So we're fogging about once a week there. And we'll probably move that into our Granville location as well once that office opens up and there's more employees in there more frequently.
Wow, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at something similar, but right now we're just looking at it, Laurie. It's called Enviro Shield Spray, which is what CWD has been doing, for the rest of the spaces, like the lobby area. And we are looking at quotes, but this one is a little bit different, Nikki, because they spray it and it protects up to a certain amount of time. So it's not a weekly thing. I think it's, more like, a long term. So that's the kind that we're looking at.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So B, I'm going to shift over and kind of talk a little bit about your space with the cafe. So the cafe is open to the public, right?
Yes.
And how is there access to you said there's plexiglass. So is it just that people can view the space in the back, but it's not like the public can enter that space?
Yeah, that's correct. So because we're in Eastern Market, I don't know if you guys have been to the Eastern Market in Detroit, but on Saturdays it is full of a lot of people. A lot of people come from all over to shop at the farmers market. They've been doing a great job at regulating it and, making sure they put fences up to not, get too many people in at one time. But there's still a lot of people here on the weekends. So we wanted to do something in our space that was, public facing, just to bring those people in and give our businesses even more exposure. So our cafe is always open to the public. And it's just a big place of it's like a big window basically that you can kind of peek through to see the back co-creating warehouse. And then there's a door next to it with a private code that only our members know. So the public can't get back there. So that way, we can kind of keep it safe. And that way, our members are paying to be in our space versus the people that just come in off the street and they still have all of their private amenities that are just for them.
Right. I want to talk too about events because I think, all of us at Clark Garden, at the market, and I'm sure in offices and at Custer, we're kind of used to having events, people in the space. That's just part of some of the work that we do and the opportunities for people to network. So what is everybody thinking along those lines? A couple weeks ago, I talked on the panel, we talked to some event space managers, and it's a really interesting shift for all of them to think about smaller events or no events right now. So maybe we could talk about that a little bit. Ryan, what are you thinking in the market?
I apologize for the background noise. For some reason, City of Grand Rapids decides to do road work now, but guys, so the market, Laurie, obviously, as you know, with Culinary Conversations, which is a group effort between MSU Extensions, Grow, Start Garden, and the market, where we usually have these really great live events. They're always panel discussions focused on the local food scene. Always trying to educate people more about the food industry, especially what's around GR and some of the food issues that come with that. We've unfortunately had to cancel all of our live events this year, but we are switching over to all virtual, which is it's funny because we're actually reaching more people with virtual events than we were with our live events. So it's a blessing and a curse, if you will. But, other than that, events in the markets, I don't envy any event planner right now. Do you reschedule them for the fall? But then what happens in the fall? Do you reschedule them again? And yeah,
right. What kind of event space do you have?
Yeah, so believe it or not, events are kind of like it's what's holding us together right now. We have on our second floor, it's like our open co-working, but the way we designed it, it's kind of perfect for events. There's big glass windows, and then it leads out to a rooftop terrace. So it can hold about 50 people, and which is like the perfect number right now. So we've been taking a whole new angle and trying to get brides who've had to reschedule their wedding, or even brides that just want to do something fun this year and then still have the big wedding next year or the year after. We're trying to get them to get married in our space. So that has been really successful for us. We have a wedding tonight. We have another wedding on Sunday. We have, pretty much at least one wedding booked every month now, or every week now for the next couple months. So we kind of created this little package. We worked with a local florist to create dried florals that are permanently here. I actually became ordained online myself so that I can officiate these weddings. And we kind of put together this little package. We partnered with a caterer where they can come, they can bring their guests, up to 50 people, and we throw them a tiny little wedding for them.
I love that.
I was talking when I did the panel a couple weeks ago, as I said, with the events groups. One of them was talking about the fact that they put together what they called like an elopement package, which would, is a smaller amount of people using the space. And they said it's been really, really popular because people right now are not able to have their big wedding. But yet they still want to get married. So how do you do that in a kind of a nice setting, a festive way? And a lot of event spaces in the past were just really not that interested in looking at a smaller group. But now that group is could be their bread and butter. And so they have decided that the elopement package is something that they're going to actually, continue with. That it's, not everybody wants a big wedding always. And
I think especially moving forward, I don't think any bride ever wants to have to go through the hassle of planning a big wedding and canceling it again. So just to be safe, it seems like a lot of brides, even for next year, are saying, hey, I'm just going to do 50 people, keep it simple. And that way, I won't have to save the dates 3 times.
Yeah.
Scheduling.
Jorge, what about events at Stark Garden? What are we doing?
Currently, we have no events whatsoever. In the near future, as you know, like what we're doing right now, it's all going to be virtual events. And I guess, it has been like B or Ryan said, a blessing in disguise because, as far as the viewership, we have seen that, for example, our 5x5 pitch competition, which we would have about 100 people in attendance. Now we're getting thousands of views as we do it through Facebook Live. So it's amazing that, sometimes technology has actually helped us. But, even yesterday, I got a request for someone that wants to use the space for up to 50 people. It's a business networking event, and they want to do it at our space. And we're looking at the end of August. And of course, I had to say no because I'm not sure. I think we at the leadership team at Stark Garden had decided that even we are not going to use it for our own event. So even though going forward, and as we move through the phases, we have to be creative and kind of like B was saying, start using it for even baby showers or weddings or whatever we may need, but to a smaller amount, just to generate some additional revenue. And that's just me thinking, Laurie, you haven't heard, or your directors have not heard it, but I'm like, what a way, it's like, because B is right. It's like, It's a way to be creative. And I think, I go back to your past with the events group, what Muse is doing now with art B&B. It's like something creative, to generate revenue, because our membership might not be up to 90. Who knows? We might only have 50 members, and we, in order to be sustainable, we need to have a 200. So we got to do, be creative.
Right. Nikki, what, in your discussions just with the office furniture industry, what are some of the discussions about the future of space? Because I think, a lot of big companies are downsizing just because of the economy. But then, is there a trend in more, like you were talking about, me space versus, a collaborative space? So is there maybe a thought that moving forward, there's going to be more emphasis on me space?
Well, I think that there's a lot of considerations, and you're right, no one has a crystal ball. So it hasn't been a definitive, like, yes, this will be the way of the future. And you kind of look at it by market a little bit too. Like there's all this in the news about Twitter and these big tech companies saying you never have to come back to the office ever again. But, my feelings and talking to others is in West Michigan, I don't really think that's us or Michigan in general. I mean, in different industries, it's going to vary so much by industry. Different industries are more collaborative than others. Some functions just are they can function fine at home remotely, and some need to be together for whatever reason, whether it's the amenities you have in the office or, I think that we'll all be just much more cognizant of space and just having your own, we've had workstations shrinking for so long out of huge, 10 by 10 cubicles to one height adjustable desk. That's always been, that's been a continuing trend. Maybe all of this that's going on is just going to accelerate, minimizing space for individual work. And again, dedicating more of it to collaborative or open space in general. But people are still going to need privacy. So it'll be really interesting to see how that all shakes out too, because whether you're on a remote call or you're having a private meeting, you still are going to need to figure out how to navigate safely, giving people acoustical and visual private spaces within an open environment moving forward that they feel safe and sanitary in. So, my personal thought when I think about that, we do a lot with, pods, acoustical pods that kind of drop into an open space to give someone a conference room or a phone booth. Is that kind of going to increase within a company's floor plan? We don't know fully, but it'll be interesting to see. I think density will probably be the biggest thing in the long term. Is just the number of people that you have in a space will always be on people's minds moving forward.
Right. I think, we started having discussions, a while ago as Stark Garden's team when we started to think about the space and the use of the space, and the fact that I think people are finding that it is actually more, more feasible to work at home, and like we're doing this event virtually. We're doing so much that we probably never really thought we could successfully carry out before. But, the technology, we don't have all the technology at our homes, right? So I think we started talking about, when we were looking at the Stark Garden space, could we offer different types of technology that people would not have working remotely? And so that the model of the workspace is not that you come there every day and sit there and do your work, but that you come in periodically as you need different pieces of technology or different environments that you wouldn't have at home.
That's what we're doing at the market as well. If you have to be on site, try to be there as minimal as possible. But for the most part, most of us in the office are still working remotely for sure.
I think it'll be interesting just offering that flexibility from like a cultural standpoint and a little bit of empathy. Like you said, I've heard a lot of CEOs say in the last 8 weeks, like I was that proponent that we are not working from home. We are not doing that. And I was wrong. Like we are fine. And I think coming out of this, even when we do get to go back to the office more, there may be just that level of empathy and flexibility of if you have things to do on your personal time, you can do it. You can still be productive. It's kind of looking, I read something the other day that is it that we're working from home or we're living at work, because people are working even more in their own homes than they were before. And business owners and entrepreneurs are picking up on that, and maybe we'll come out of this with a little bit less rigid stress of going to an office every day and give everyone a little bit more compassion to do your work where you're most comfortable doing it.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, B, like your makerspace is probably something that, obviously people don't have that at home. So that has a whole different appeal, because what kinds of things do you have in the makerspace?
Yeah, well, right now we have our one company they do media production, which is great. They can kind of lay out their space to do a photo shoot. They can kind of just sit at their desks and work. It's very flexible for them. And then recently we've been talking to this group. They started a tie-dye company out of their house called the Quarantine Bleach Company. And it's super cool. They're saying we're house, and now it's like the toxic smells are getting to us. So they were looking for maker space. So I think we're going to kind of see more businesses like that. People who are working out of their homes, whether it's the smell or the mess or all the boxes, they need to move out. And that's kind of what we're targeting here.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, that's unique. That makes that space, it's not just a desk. It's
exactly.
You come into work. And I think too, going back, Nikki, to what you're saying about maybe employers being less rigid and even employees, I think back now about how many places I've been, whether it's work or whether it's, a public function or just out in the store, where people are out and about and they're sick, like people would be coming to work with colds or coming, out at events and they're not feeling well. And I think this has made, at least for me, it's made me realize that, we weren't as, I don't know. I mean, we weren't really as thinking about this, I think, as seriously as we should have been, about keeping yourself away from other people when you're not feeling well. It's not just about going to work because you feel like you need to be there. It's also about people's health, your own.
Sometimes people wear that like as a badge of honor. Like, yes, I have the flu, but I'm here, darn it.
Yeah.
We're just not going to do that anymore. And a lot of employers will say, no, you need to absolutely not be here. So that might change, on an employer level, how people look at PTO and, a little bit more flexibility. If you're sick, please don't come in.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree.
If I can add in, Laurie, yesterday, after working with Eris at Star Garden, I decided to go to a social zone, which is, outside of your shallows. And, I used to go there before the COVID-19, so I know a lot of the workers there. And one of the servers, I said, how are you? She's like, sure, I'm doing okay. She's back to work for being there for 2 weeks, but she's, in her words, sick and tired of people not taking this seriously. And she's afraid she's going to get sick because people don't even wear masks as they enter the restaurant. So that made me think about all three of you, as far as, if I can ask a question, Laurie.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody. Yeah.
So one of the things that we also did is we got a hold of a law firm that we work with to do an addendum to our sublease, just to add verbiage when it came to COVID-19 and the restrictions and what happens under your membership if you come in and you refuse to wear a mask or you refuse to get your temperature checked. Does that give us the right, to not allow you to enter? So we're going to have everyone prior to July 1st to sign that addendum to the sublease, just as a precaution to make sure that we're not going to have what we see now in restaurants where people refuse to wear masks as they enter the premises. So I'm just wondering if you guys are doing the same, or what things are you doing to prevent an angry member trying to enter your spaces?
That's the golden question right there. I feel like you're not going to please everybody. At the market, like I said before, we closed off some of the secondary entrances so that we can kind of funnel people through one main entrance. Our facilities team, like I said before, we do have somebody stationed right there by the door, making sure that people do have masks on. Obviously, if they have a medical condition that prevents that, that's fine. But it's not everybody loves it, but in the big scope of things, we want to do everything that we can to keep our employees and our guests safe as much as possible. So, we have to be strict on it.
Yeah, and luckily for us, we've been able to have a personal conversation with all of our members since we do have such a intimate group of people here, and everyone's been really cool that everyone's kind of on the same page. So we've been really blessed that we have not had any issues so far. And just with the cafe, it's a health code rule here. We have a sign on the door. If you don't have a mask on, you can't enter. So we've had some people walk up to the door and then see the sign and then walk away. And so it is what it is.
Especially in any type of food or service industry, especially, if you're working in a kitchen, let's say in a restaurant, you're not going to social distance. It's virtually impossible to do a service and stay 6 feet away from somebody on the line. Most lines are usually 6 feet, period. And so that's definitely something for the Market Hall tenants and Incubator Kitchen tenants as well. That's why we're so strict on gloves at all times, multiple glove stations, multiple sanitation stations. We posted quite a few guidelines on all the walls in the market as well, just to reiterate how important it is to maintain that safety and that sanitation.
Mm-hmm. Nikki, when people come back to your spaces, are masks going to be required inside?
They are right now. We went through, just even though we are not fully back in or phased in our employees, we do have the stipulation that if you're within Custer and can't maintain your 6-foot social distance being at your workstation, a mask is required. We have social cues on our floor and on our walls saying that stay 6 feet apart or a mask is required. So yes, we've had to go over that. I have another call today internally with our employees, just reminding them that's what our standards are and this is what we're sticking to. So everyone has to abide by it. It's interesting, especially for our installers who have been on site even in the beginning of this at hospitals and essential businesses. We were still doing reconfigurations and they need to wear masks, and because that's Custer's standard, but also if you're going to a job site, that a construction company has their own standards. So we're being, trying to stay on top of temperature checks, questionnaires, masks, just so we can say Custer covered our bases to keep everyone safe and we're abiding by that business, because then you're going into another location and you have to respect the protocols that they have in place too. So it's really difficult, to Ryan's point, like on a line at a restaurant or food service, when you're installing furniture and you have 5 guys doing heavy carries, stair carries, you can't keep a social distance. So you need to be wearing masks and, we're giving hand sanitizer and gloves to everyone. It's so hard. You can't be perfect, but you just have to take every precaution you can when you can't stay 6 to 10 feet apart.
So Jorge, for Stark Garden, are we requiring masks inside all the time, or are we saying if you're 6 feet apart, you can take your mask off?
Well, we're requiring masks all the time, but I'm sure that, and that's something maybe we need to discuss, that if you are doing the 6 feet distancing, I'm pretty sure that you can take it off. If you want to have a drink or something, but I have to read the sublease addendum to make sure, because that's something that I work with the attorney to make sure that we cover all of our T's and dotted all of our I's. But that's a good question. I don't know how if people are maintaining their 6 feet distance, how we can enforce that they wear a mask. It's gonna be hard because going back to Nikki's comment about pods. So we have 4 pods with 6 members, a company that has 6 employees in each pod. Well, when we send out the revised, membership packages, a pod no longer exists. We can have 6 people contained in a small space. So that space now can only accommodate up to 2 people, and we got to convert it into a, open air meeting spaces. So a conference room that has no doors, just to allow better air flow. And when we said to those companies that they could come back, but they would have to work in 6 feet spaces. 2 of them are basically saying they're not coming back because they don't think that this is such a big deal. It's not a big threat. We're overreacting. We're almost like, what you hear out there. I have the right to not wear a mask if I don't want to. So we're saying, okay, you can't come back. We're not gonna expose all the other members to someone that may be sick and refuses to wear a mask. So definitely, it's like you said about the workers, Nikki. Sometimes you don't have the option because you work so closely. But in this case, we do have the option because we're saying, you know what, we have enough space throughout our entire Star Garden space. If you really have to work like you were in the past, then we can't have you back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems like, if you're sitting, you've got your laptop, you come in, you've got your space, and you're 6 feet apart. I can't imagine that you would sit there all day with a mask
on. Yeah.
If you get up and you're going to use the restroom, or you're walking around the space, you'd be required to put it back on. I mean, that to me makes sense.
And I don't know how it is in the food industry, Ryan, but I know, I've been to a couple of restaurants already, and the requirement is that I enter with the mask on. They give me and I ask for my water, and then when I sit down, I'm able to take it out because I'm 6 feet away from everybody else.
Yep. Unless basically when you're sitting at your table, you're allowed to not have your mask on. Any other time, if you need to get up to go to the bathroom or get up from the bar, then mask definitely has to be on. It's tough in the food industry for sure. A lot of these restrictions, while they make sense, again, as I was talking about previously, same thing as what Nikki was talking about. There are just a lot of situations where you just can't maintain proper social distancing. So that's why. Right. I know every food industry person that I know of is, their budget for gloves and hand sanitizer has skyrocketed. So.
Yeah. Well, we've only got a few minutes left. I'm assuming we didn't have any questions because I think Murphy would have submitted them to us. So maybe we could just go around and everybody can just sort of wrap up and talk about what happens next. I know we don't know, but in your mind, tell me a little bit, or tell everybody a little bit about next steps.
Sure.
So
at the market right now, all the businesses on the market hall are certainly open. The market actually never fully closed. We just transitioned to curbside for a while. But all the businesses in the market hall are open. We still do curbside, still do call aheads. So for our first phase, what we're doing is outside in our market shed, where it's a little bit less restrictive. We have tables set up out there. Eventually, the next phase, based off of restrictions and whatnot, next phase will be starting to allow some seating on the terrace, still again outside, and then slowly as things start to get better and start to lift, and we'll start transitioning to adding seating inside again. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then what? And the kitchen, just
Then we're just gonna keep maintaining our sanitation standards. We keep continuously sending out information to the tenants as well, notifying them. While certain restrictions have been lifted, we still need to maintain proper sanitation, social distancing as best as possible, things of that nature. So
great, Nikki.
Yeah, we're just going to keep moving forward. I think that this is just kind of fast-tracked our change management and workplace assessment services. We do a lot of consultation with clients, trying to look at their individual environments instead of just taking this blanket approach. So having these conversations is in our wheelhouse, and being able to interact with clients and find a solution that's really right for them is going to be a huge part of it. Furniture is only one part of an environment. It's the technology and the whole integration of a space. You guys know, it's way more than just that. So, like I said, I think this is going to create a lot of opportunity. It might be scary right now, but we'll be taking a better look at just the overall well-being emotionally, physically, and from a safety perspective of employees in your space, and how we can help people have a really great environment. So, and still moving forward, I mean, with schools and healthcare facilities, their interior environments are going to change too. So that's a whole nother realm to take a look at.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's true. You don't just work with, office space. You guys are working with schools and with healthcare
environments is just going to be so interesting moving forward.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic, obviously. B.
Yeah, so we're just taking it day by day. I mean, right now we're doing okay, but as we start to get more members, I'm sure things will shift. We're just, hoping for the best, trying to hang in there and get our name out there.
Yeah. And, I mean, honestly, for you, the fact that you have not been open for that long, maybe gives you a little bit of an opportunity, like you said, you're kind of pivoting a little bit and using your rooftop space. And so you can kind of innovate what your space can be. You're not quite set in a business model that, needs to be really, really modified. So you can maybe kind of push this along in a different way. So
I know.
I'm so excited to come see your space.
Yeah, I definitely want to come over and see it in person. So
good.
Yep. All right, Jorge, I'll throw it to you to wrap it up.
All right. And I'll tag along with you to go to Detroit.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for everyone, and it's great information that was provided. One of the biggest takeaways that I'm thinking as I'm listening to all of you was that we had to modify our membership types of memberships, because we no longer have the pods and we no longer have the dedicated desk. And just to briefly say it, the dedicated desk was a membership for $300. They gave you access. You had your own desk, your own storage space. You could have your own monitor, and you had a key card that gave you 24/7 access to the space. And for the longest time, a lot of our members said, I don't need the dedicated space. I just need access to the space 24/7. Is there a hybrid model between the drop-in membership that was only Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and you said wherever you were available? And we never even thought about it. But now, because of this, we only have two new membership types, which is a drop-in at $150 Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And then we have the drop-in enhanced, which is the 24/7 access with a key card, but no dedicated desk. So basically, what members were asking for the longest, now thanks to COVID-19, we do have that membership type. So, and this is my sale. I'm selling to everyone that's watching. If you are interested in a membership at Star Garden, thank you.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I think this was a great conversation. And, most of these panels that we've been doing, it's been really great to be able to share information. Everybody, has different ways of approaching things, and I think we can all learn from each other. So thanks so much. And I appreciate you being here this morning. So have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye.